These cultures like dub and dancehall from so-called ghetto areas prove to be very vibrant, very enduring, because they have to work hard to satisfy people in oppressed conditions. They have to take them out of those conditions, so they have to be strong to do that. They have to lift people out of their surroundings and make them forget, like Bob Marley said. When the music hits, you feel no pain. You feel no pain. You feel no pain. You feel no pain.
The DJ at the time was just the man who, at the turntable, put on the music, read the invitation, and tune the sound. That was the DJ work at the dance, you know?
The whole advent of the DJ really starting to toast on records, you know, that really came to the fore about the same time as dub. You know what I mean? With I-Roy, U-Roy, Big Youth, Tapazuki, people like that.
Now, what Jamaicans refer to as toasting is basically what Americans and most of the rest of the world know as rap. So this is where a rapper, or what's typically referred to in Jamaica as a DJ, will ad-lib lyrics on top of a rhythm.
The best of the rappers at the time was a guy called U-Roy, who was DJing for Tubby's Hometown Hi-Fi.
In the old days, a man used to say, "Hey now, dig for daddy, dig for mommy," and, you know, like Machuki and Lord Comic. But when the dub come, a man have the space to talk right over it.
Come start play for King Tubby's, and like, first dance we play is like people them love it so much. It's like everybody just want me to play them for them next dance. Yeah. Everybody who have a dance coming up, them want me to play for them, you know?
U-Roy advanced the form from just being an incidental thing where someone would drop a proverb or a wisecrack or a joke, and made it a fluid form. He would toast continuously between the bits of the vocal that were left in, and mostly reinforced the message of the original song.
Yeah, many young DJs rise up from that all over the world, you know, which is good.
Dub created the opening for the DJ, and the DJ took over.
Most artists would probably say that they're totally separate, but it's just after you look into it, you know, you find that it's you can't mention one without the other.
Now you have this man Kool Herc, the DJ Kool Herc, who is one of the very most important figures in hip-hop culture. But Kool Herc is a man who spent his youth in Jamaica, because he's a Jamaican, exposed to sound system culture, which is all around in Jamaica and was all around him.
He took that idea of the DJ not just being the disc jockey as the person to play the records, but the DJ as somebody who's going to be playing the records and then vocalizing on top of the music to get the people excited.
What Kool Herc and his peers started to do allowed space in the same way that in Jamaica, these dub music allowed the space for the DJs to rap on sound systems.
He was the first one to actually play breaks and all the jams. So because if it wasn't for him, he really, you know, we wouldn't even have all the DJs. Of course, you know, meeting that Kool Herc and Grandmaster Flash and Africa were the first 3 DJs to really put hip hop music in effect.
Kids with records and turntables A lot of Jamaican kids probably too in New York just started toasting, you know? It seemed like a normal progression, you know?
The early sound systems didn't have the bands, so they just had the instrumentals and versions for the toasters. And for us, it's the same thing. Like, you know, when hip hop first started, it was the DJs in the park spinning the breakbeats with the MCs, you know, rapping over those instrumentals. So it's the same thing, you know. It's the same relation.
It goes beyond the sound. It's to do with the attitude, the mindset behind it, the thinking behind it.
The basic process of creating a dub from a reggae instrumental was called versioning, which involved taking little snippets of the original track, in other words, sampling the original track and changing into something new, affecting it. Now, clearly hip-hop culture is based, you know, more than any other music is based on sampledelia.
And without that, I don't think you would have rap as it is, even though rap, hip-hop, as we call it today, is definitely an American innovation, but it kind of all started to that level in Jamaica with the toasters, the DJs.
This is a stupid question, but how many of y'all like reggae? Y'all like reggae? Dancehall, dub, all that type of shit?
Dub music, as I said, like what I term as dub music, it's not so influential today in America or so, but in Europe, you still have a lot of influence of dub music in Europe.
Even now, I don't release no tune in Jamaica. If people want it, them have to get it from England. England become the main source where we release all of these dubs. You release your music where people appreciate it more. England is the gateway to the continent, you know. From your hit in England, you hit all over.
Jamaican music came to England along with the first wave of Jamaican immigrants that arrived in the 60s, you know, because obviously the music was the first real link of keeping in touch with what was going on back home.
See, in the early days when I was a kid, most people migrating, leaving Jamaica, they headed for England. They would take that boat for 20 days, packing up furniture, everything leave Jamaica. I mean, now we travel with us a suitcase. These people used to go on the boat with the furniture from Jamaica, going to England. So they take the records, everything.
If you depend on Jamaica that way, you die for hungry. So you go abroad and just do what you have to do.
Some of the artists will have sung a tune for a particular producer, and that tune never even got released in Jamaica. But that tune got released over here, so that artist will be, you know, really a name, like a household name over here, but in Jamaica, he's not really known for that particular tune.
I'm known as the DJ that turned the punks onto reggae, as a DJ in a club called the Roxy back in the late 70s. And this all happened really by accident, because what happened was I got a gig to DJ in this punk rock club, and it was so soon in the scene that there were no punk records to play. So what was I going to do? I played something I like, you know, I played reggae, and we're talking about hardcore dub reggae. And it turns out that the punks kind of liked it.
The reason that rock and reggae blend together is the heaviness. If you listen to the rock guys, they pride themselves on being loud and heavy, right? Reggae has the same, the same boast that we're heavy.
They liked the anti-establishment vibe of the tunes and the fact that the lyrics were about something. They had a kind of musical reportage quality. It dealt with themes like how we gonna live. And it was themes like this that inspired the punk rock movement.
In 1977, when Culture had hits with like 2/7's Clash, at that time the punk movement started to move. Sex Pistols were on the up, the Clash were on the up. In fact, Lee Scratch Perry was working with the Clash. Mikey Dread was working with the Clash.
Paul Simonon and Joe Strummer, they love reggae very much. And, when it came time for them to record their music, what people do is, you gravitate towards people that you're inspired by. So they got a chance to make a record, they go and check out Lee Perry because they want some of what Lee Perry's got. And another guy that was really inspired by the whole reggae vibe and bass culture was John Lydon, who used to be known as Johnny Rotten. And you can hear the effect of bass culture all over Public Image's material. So from that moment on, reggae really kind of began to inform white culture. He decides to go to Jamaica with Richard Branson to start a reggae label called Frontline on Virgin. Richard Branson takes John to be his kind of musical advisor. John, he rings me up and says, hey, Don, you want to go to Jamaica? He figures I'm black, I must have been to Jamaica. I'd never been to Jamaica. The closest I've been to Jamaica is seeing A Harder Day Come in the cinema in Brixton. But I'm like, yo, I'm there. And I get a plastic bag, and the next day I'm in Jamaica with Johnny Rotten for the first time. And it was great because Richard Branson was signing reggae artists, the word got around on the island, rich white man signing up reggae artists. Everybody across the whole island, Exodus. Everybody comes to the hotel, Sheraton Hotel. Everybody except Bob Marley, Burning Spear and Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer. Other than that, we'd sit by the pool and U-Roy, Big Youth, I-Roy, Tapazuki, Congos, Ethiopians, Abyssinians, Gladiators, and on. Everybody just came and we were hanging out with those guys. It was a real trip. I was lucky. I got to know Bob Marley, funny enough, when he was living in England. And I used to sell him weed. And while he was over here, I went around to see him one time and I had some of my punk rock clothes on. And he said, Don Letts, why are you wearing these punk rock clothes? They're nasty people. I'm like, nah, Bob, you got to check it out. There's more going on. He'd been reading the English newspapers. He had a tabloid version of what punk rock was about. And after staying for a few months, he began to realize that there was something going on with punk rock. And he wrote that tune, Punky Reggae Party.
As a small label, pushing dub, it's not an easy job. I don't know if it's not as accessible as, and maybe it's because it hasn't got vocals, a lot of it, I don't know, but it's not easy. It's not easy.
This can't die. This can't die, man. The message is too strong for it to die, and we need it as well. So, let's we'll generate something for ourselves, and that was the birth of the UK root scene.
Early 80s, there was mainly dub still coming out of Jamaica, but mainly from people like Scientists, and there was a guy called Peter Chemist as well, but most of the dubs were coming from England.
Dub music is not a played music in Jamaica. If you have to go to England or France or in parts of Europe to hear dub music.
We all lived in London, and we developed, especially Shaka and myself, because we used to share the same premises and share the same musicians.